The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Nashville International Airport, casting long golden beams across the polished floor. Sarah Mitchell stood near gate 17, clutching her worn leather purse against her side. Her 7-year-old daughter, Emma, sat quietly in a plastic chair nearby, coloring in a princess book that was missing half its pages. Sarah checked her watch for the third time in 5 minutes. Their flight to her mother's house in Ohio had been delayed again. She sighed softly, calculating in her head whether she had enough money left for lunch if they needed it. The numbers never quite added up the way she hoped. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore jeans and a comfortable cotton shirt. Nothing fancy. Nothing that drew attention. That was how Sarah lived her life now, quietly, carefully, making every dollar stretch as far as it could go. She worked 2 jobs. During the day, she answered phones at a dental office. 3 evenings a week, she waited tables at a diner on the edge of town. Emma stayed with their neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, during those evening shifts. Sarah paid her what she could, usually in homemade meals and help with grocery shopping. It had been this way for 3 years now, ever since Emma's father left. He'd promised so many things when they were young and in love. But promises, Sarah had learned, were easy to make and even easier to break. Now it was just her and Emma, and that was enough. It had to be. Sarah glanced toward the coffee shop across from their gate. The smell of fresh pastries drifted through the air, making her stomach tighten with hunger. She'd skipped breakfast to save money. Emma had eaten cereal before they left, and that was what mattered. "Mommy, I'm thirsty," Emma said, looking up from her coloring book with those big brown eyes that melted Sarah's heart every single time. "Okay, sweetheart. Let me get you some water." Sarah walked toward a nearby water fountain, Emma's small hand tucked safely in hers. As they passed the seating area near the windows, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. There was a man standing by the glass, talking on his phone. He wore an expensive-looking suit, navy blue with a crisp white shirt underneath. His dark hair was shorter than she remembered, styled neatly. But his profile, the line of his jaw, the way he stood with one hand in his pocket, she would know him anywhere. Michael Harrison. Her first love. Her high school sweetheart. The boy she'd dreamed of marrying under the old oak tree in her backyard. Sarah stopped walking so suddenly that Emma bumped into her leg. "Mommy. It's okay, baby. Just wait 1 second. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest. It had been 12 years since she'd last seen Michael. 12 years since the night before he left for college in California, when they'd sat in his car and cried and promised to make it work somehow. But distance and time had done what they always do. The phone calls became less frequent. The emails shorter. And then one day, they just stopped. She'd heard through mutual friends that he'd started some kind of tech company out in Silicon Valley. But that was years ago, and Sarah had been too busy surviving to wonder what had become of him. Now here he was, 20 feet away from her in an airport in Tennessee. Michael ended his phone call and turned slightly. His eyes scanned the crowd absently, the way people do when they're waiting for something. Then his gaze landed on Sarah. For a moment, neither of them moved. Recognition flickered across his face, followed by something else, surprise, maybe, or disbelief. He took a small step forward, then hesitated, as if he wasn't sure it was really her. Sarah felt frozen. Part of her wanted to walk away, to disappear into the crowd before he could come closer. She was acutely aware of her faded jeans, her old purse, the fact that she probably looked as tired as she felt. But Emma was tugging on her hand now, still asking for water, and there was nowhere to hide. Michael walked toward them. His stride was confident but not rushed. When he got close enough, he stopped and smiled, a genuine, warm smile that looked exactly the same as it had when they were 17. "Sarah. Sarah Mitchell." "Hi, Michael." Her voice came out steadier than she expected. "Wow. I can't believe it's you." His eyes moved to Emma, then back to Sarah. "Is this your daughter?" "Yes. This is Emma." Michael crouched down to Emma's level, his expensive suit bending easily. "Hi, Emma. I'm Michael. Your mom and I used to be friends a long time ago." Emma studied him with the serious expression she always wore when meeting new people. "Did you go to school together?" "We did," Michael said, smiling. "Your mom was the smartest person in our class." Emma seemed satisfied with this answer and went back to looking at her coloring book. Michael stood up again, and there was an awkward pause. Sarah didn't know what to say. What do you say to someone who knew you when you believed anything was possible? Are you flying out? Michael asked. Yes. Going to visit my mom in Ohio. You. Chicago. Business meeting. He paused, then added, I'm actually based in San Francisco now, but I travel a lot. I heard you started a company. Yeah. He looked almost embarrassed. Software development. It's done well. Really well, actually. Sarah nodded. She could see it now, the quality of his clothes, the expensive watch on his wrist, the way he carried himself. This wasn't the boy who'd worked weekends at his father's hardware store to save up for a car. This was someone who'd made it, someone who'd achieved the dreams they used to talk about on late-night drives. That's wonderful, Michael. I'm happy for you. He looked at her for a long moment, and something in his expression shifted. What about you? What are you doing these days? I work at a dental office. And I waitress part-time. She said it simply, without shame, but she couldn't help feeling the weight of it. Do you live here in Nashville? About 30 minutes outside the city. Another pause. Emma tugged on Sarah's hand again, reminding her about the water. I should go, Sarah said quickly. It was good seeing you, Michael. Wait. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. Can I give you this? Maybe we could get coffee sometime. Catch up properly. Sarah took the card. It was thick, expensive cardstock with elegant printing. Michael Harrison, CEO, Harrison Technologies. Sure, she said, even though she knew she probably wouldn't call. Michael seemed to sense her hesitation. Sarah, I mean it. I'd really like to hear about your life. About everything. Something in his voice made her look up at him. His eyes were sincere, with none of the pity she'd feared seeing there. Okay, she said softly. I'm in town until tomorrow evening. Are you free for dinner tonight? I could pick you up. And Emma too, of course. Sarah's first instinct was to say no. To make an excuse. But Emma was looking up at her with curious eyes, and suddenly Sarah felt tired of always saying no to everything. All right. Dinner would be nice. Michael's smile was immediate and genuine. Great. Really great. Can I get your number? They exchanged phone numbers, and then Michael's flight was called. He said goodbye to Emma, telling her to keep making beautiful drawings. Then he looked at Sarah one more time. I'm really glad I ran into you today. Me too, Sarah said, and she was surprised to realize she meant it. She watched him walk away. Toward his gate, disappearing into the crowd of travelers. Emma pulled her toward the water fountain, and Sarah went through the motions of helping her daughter drink, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. That evening, after their own flight was delayed 4 more hours and they'd finally made it to Ohio, Sarah's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Michael. He'd had to catch his Chicago flight, but he'd rescheduled his meetings. He'd be back in Nashville in 3 days. Could they do dinner then instead? Sarah stared at the message for a long time. Emma was already asleep in the guest room at her mother's house. Through the window, Sarah could see the old oak tree in the backyard, the one where she'd once dreamed of a different life. Maybe the life she'd built wasn't what she'd planned. Maybe it was harder and smaller and quieter than those teenage dreams. But it